Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Godsol's Turnbuckle. And we are here again with some more predictions. This time is going to be for AEW's Full Gear 2023. And as of right now, there is 9 matches on the card, so I'm going to kind of stick to those, though there is a potential for additional matches to be added into this card, more than likely on the 0 hour section. At least that's what I would think. Not necessarily certain on that. But we're going to go ahead and start off with a 0 hour match. And it is going to be for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. It's going to be MJF and to be determined, to be announced, versus the Guns. So this is going to be a kind of a story, or kind of a night-long story for MJF. Again, he's going to be defending the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles, and then he's going to have his world title match later on in the main card, more than likely at the main event with that one. And honestly, just based off of where they're going with everything, and since the fact that they still haven't really announced a tag team partner for MJF at this point in time, I feel like they're going to be keeping those Ring of Honor tag team titles with whomever helps him out, or if he just does it on his own. I feel like with the aspect of them leaving it as a mystery at this point in time, they are leaving it open to where MJF and whomever his tag partner is going to be, whether it be Samoa Joe or somebody else to go along with that, to be the victors of this match. So I'm going to go with MJF and to be determined at this point. So yeah, it should be an interesting match to see what they decide to do leading into the main card itself, because obviously the Guns are part with the whole Bullet Club Gold with MJF, or not MJF, but with Jay White and Juice Robinson to go along with it. So it'll be a little bit interesting to see where they decide to go with this. I feel like you'll get some kind of story aspect that goes into the pay-per-view along with it in this match, but I feel like MJF will be keeping the Ring of Honor tag team titles for right now. And up next is going to be for the TBS Championship. It's going to be Chris Statlander going up against Julia Hart, going up against Sky Blue. So they've basically been still working this storyline with Sky Blue, Willow Nightingale, and Chris Statlander up against Julia Hart at this point. It's been primarily where Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue have been going up against Julia Hart. Chris Statlander's been there kind of in the background after her match with Julia Hart at Wrestle Dream with this, and they set this up as a triple threat. There were a couple of qualifiers. Julia Hart beat Willow Nightingale, and Sky Blue beat Red Velvet on Dynamite. Now, in the terms of everything here, it's been interesting to see where they've been going with Chris Statlander as the TBS champion. Initially, they were having her being a fighting champion almost on a weekly basis with that on Collision or on Dynamite, and also with the pay-per-view match at Wrestle Dream as well. But after that match at Wrestle Dream, she really hasn't done too much in the terms of in-ring. It's been kind of out-of-ring work and promo work to go along with that. I'm not sure if there's a reason behind that outside of maybe giving a little bit more time in the in-ring side to Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale. That could be the case with that one. And Julia Hart as well. In this particular match, I feel like they're still playing off the aspect that it looked like both Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue were kind of turning and going to be joining Julia Hart. And they've been kind of playing that up ever since both of them got misted in the eyes. And then Willow Nightingale kind of fully went back to full-on babyface, where Sky Blue is like, I haven't aligned with Julia Hart. She even did like a blue mist to Julia Hart's face, but isn't fully back to where she was in the terms of her character. I feel like this is going to be one of those things where it does kind of come full circle, and I'm going to predict the title change here for this one. I'm going to go with Julia Hart to actually pick up the TBS championship. Now, do we see a thing where Sky Blue fully joins with Julia Hart, or is that somewhere down the line? Don't know. but we'll see how that ends out playing out storyline wise. The one thing that I have been at least liking with the women's division, even though they still don't get a lot of time on there, they are at least getting stories leading into these pay-per-view matches and making them more intriguing going into it as well. You do see that also with the AEW women's title match that will be on the show to go along with that. We'll talk about that one a little bit later. In this case, though, I'm going to go with Julia Hart, and we're going to have a new TBS champion. And up next, we have a 6-man tag team match. It is going to be Sting, Darby Allin, and Adam Copeland going up against Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. In terms of prediction here, I don't think there's really, it's going to be a very hard prediction. I think it's going to be more or less like how much interaction are we going to see between Adam Copeland and Christian Cage in this match. Obviously, in the setup to this, we have seen Adam Copeland spear Christian to align with Sting and Darby Allin. But how much interaction are we going to actually see in this match between the two of them? Because I feel like we're going to be getting a one-on-one match at some point in time with those two. So I can't imagine you're going to get a lot of interaction with that. And obviously, you do have Sting, who is setting himself up towards his retirement match, which is going to be in next March at Revolution, and of course Darby Allin on pay-per-view. I feel like in this one it's kind of simple. You gotta go with Sting, Darby Allin, and Adam Copeland to pick up the victory here. It's going to be just more or less how are they going to be setting up further down the line with any of the stories, because I don't feel like this is going to be completely over with this 6-man tag, especially with the aspect of a potential Adam Copeland and Christian Cage match later down the line. Christian Cage has been doing really good work as of late with everything with that TNT title and just everything in general with Nick Wayne and with Luchasaurus in that setup. So it's gonna be an interesting one. I feel like it'll be a pretty good match, but I feel like it's kind of simple to go towards Sting, Darby Allin, and Adam Copeland to pick up the victory here. And up next, we have the Golden Jets. It's going to be Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho going up against the Young Bucks. Basically, this is now being set up as if Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho pick up the victory, they get the Young Bucks tag team title match down the line. If the Young Bucks win, Jericho and Omega can't team up anymore. Now, this has been basically set up over the past number of weeks where you have Jericho and Omega teaming up mainly because they're going after the Don Callis family, so it's more of an enemy of my enemy is my friend. But the Bucks, they just don't really like Jericho for basically what they had done in the past. But also what we have kind of seen with even more frustrations that have been going on because, you had the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team titles with, the Young Bucks and Hangman, and he was having his issues with Swerve, which we'll talk about those a little bit later because he does have that because they do have that match, and costing those titles. And then they just don't like Jericho, and they don't like the fact that Kenny Omega's teaming up with him. They've basically kind of gone full heel going into this match as well, mainly based upon what they did to the Lucha Brothers and how they decided to pick up the victory on Dynamite by, low blow to go along with that. So the Bucks, you feel like they're kind of going to a slow heel turn at this point in time, and I feel like you're going to end up getting a little bit more out of this. Oddly enough, I'm going to go with Jericho and Omega to pick up the victory here, because I don't feel like this is the last time we're going to see this match, oddly enough. That's just me on this one. So I feel like you're going to see that somewhere down the line yet again. How they get to it, I don't necessarily know. Will tag titles be on the line? Who knows on that one to go along with it as well. So I'm actually going to go with Jericho and Omega again to pick up the victory, and they will get a tag team title match somewhere down the line. So we'll see how it ends up playing out. And up next, we do have the AEW tag team title match. It's going to be Ricky Starks and Big Bill going up against La Faction, and then they'll be going up against FTR and the House of Black. And it's going to be Malachi Black and Brody King with this one. Now, this is interesting that we're having a fatal four-way for the tag team titles when the Young Bucks had won a shot at the tag team titles. Now, they did preface it that it would be in the future, so it didn't necessarily have to be in the next match. But it's still a little bit weird that they're not necessarily in this tag team title match, and we're getting a fatal four-way to go along with it. Now, I feel like what they did with Ricky Starks and Big Bill to get them those tag team titles, beating FTR in a very quick fashion, and almost like an angle match for that one. A lot of people felt like that was more of an injury angle style match where somebody was going to be written off for a while, but it wasn't actually the case. It was kind of to try, based off of what they were assuming now, is that was trying to get something surprising and try to get Ricky Starks and Big Bill over as a tag team. And I feel like that's going to still be the case here. I feel like they're going to keep those tag team titles on them, and I'm going to go with Ricky Starks and Big Bill in this match. And I feel like it's probably going to be the better option at this moment, with potentially, if the other prediction becomes correct, with Omega and Jericho getting a tag team title shot. I feel like it's going to be better to keep it on a heel team, and yes, you could probably put it on the House of Black or La Faction with that one as well, but I feel like to solidify this tag team title run, they need to get a good victory here, and I don't necessarily see them switching the titles or this title on a fatal four-way in this particular case. So I'm going to go with Ricky Starks and Big Bill to keep the tag team titles. And up next, we have the AEW Women's Championship match. Is going to be Hikaru Shida going up against Timeless Toni Storm. And like I said, they do have a decent build-up into this, not just necessarily over the last number of weeks, but basically kind of going back all the way to right before All In, where Hikaru Shida beat Toni Storm to become a two-time women's champion. Ever since that time that she lost it, we've been seeing Toni Storm kind of become a little bit more unhinged, a little bit more here and there. And then it led to her being basically timeless Toni Storm, where now she's kind of a black. It's every vignette's done in black and white. She's like almost like a Marilyn Monroe actress style with this one. To me, it's a little bit more on the comedic side than it is anything, though I'm kind of holding reservation on that until we see more matches with Toni Storm in this style of character. Now, based off of like how it's been getting over, and again, they've had a pretty decent setup with this, though I do find it a little bit weird how they got to this point, because technically Toni Storm has been wanting to feud with the Outcast, but that one's not done yet. But she's getting a match with Hikaru Shida before she's done with everything with like Saraya and Ruby Soho, which I imagine they're going to continue a little bit more with that down the line. Is it going to be where Toni Storm is still heel, or is she going to be babyface for this? I don't necessarily know with those ones. And also with the factor that you had the belt on Saraya at one point and they were feuding. And yes, they did have that match with Toni Storm and Saraya already. But you put the belt on Shida. And don't get me wrong, I would probably prefer that they keep that title on Hikaru Shida at this point, because it does feel kind of a little bit bad that her last two title reigns have basically been very short and almost not too much of anything to go along with that. Though, Yeah, it just falls under an aspect that, I guess I've always kind of liked Hikaru Shida. I would probably prefer them to keep the title on her for a little bit longer, but in the aspect of how Tony Storm's new character's been getting over and everything, I'm gonna pick Tony Storm to actually win this match and get the AEW Women's Championship, because I just feel like they're gonna kind of go with the character that's getting a little bit more over at this point in time, and that would be Tony Storm at this moment. Though, like I said, I would prefer them just to keep it on Sheeta for a little bit longer. I'm gonna go with Tony Storm to pick up the victory here. It seems to make a little bit more sense. You have the whole thing with Mariah May starting up; they'll go along with that, and yeah, we'll see where everything goes. But I'm gonna go with Tony Storm to pick up the victory here. And up next, it is going to be for the AEW International Championship. It's going to be Orange Cassidy going up against Jon Moxley. Cassidy has basically gotten back his International Championship after defeating Rey Fenix, who defeated Jon Moxley, which was kind of which, like, based off of where they were going with everything, was kind of not necessarily the plan to have Rey Fenix pick up that victory at that point. They called an audible apparently during the match with Jon Moxley where he got injured and concussed, and Rey Fenix ended up picking up the title. And then they put it on Orange Cassidy a few weeks later. Moxley comes back in. He is livid at Orange Cassidy because basically he's like, you took my spot, you took the championship, I wanted to get it back from Rey Fenix, I'm gonna destroy you and take that title back. And Orange Cassidy is like trying to do everything in his power to keep the championship. I feel like Orange Cassidy is going to pick up a victory against Jon Moxley somewhere down the line. I don't think this is the time though. I think it's somewhere down the line. I'm going to pick Jon Moxley to pick up the victory here, and he's going to get that AEW International Championship back, and then maybe they're going to continue on that run that he was originally supposed to have before everything kind of went haywire and everything went down at that point. So, yeah, I definitely feel like I'm going with Jon Moxley in this one. Actually, I already said it, so yes, I'm going with Jon Moxley. Up next, we have a Texas death match. It is going to be Hangman Adam Page going up against Swerve Strickland. And, oh man, this feud. This feud has been heated. Like, in the terms of wanting to do any type of death match, or like a Texas death match, which is more of a last man standing style match, the way that they built up to this definitely warrants it. You had everything from Wrestle Dream where, Swerve Strickland picked up the victory, and then the feud picked up from there, where Swerve felt like, is like, oh, you've made this personal, so I'm gonna make it personal by breaking into your house. And that promo that he did while around the crib, that basically was representing being around Hangman Adam Page's kid, sleeping in the crib at the time, and throwing the shirt in there. Like, the whole thing that they did with this angle was phenomenal, and everything that Hangman's been doing to go along with that, he's become unhinged because of this. And he basically is reacting to somebody who's like, you broke into my house, duh, I am going to destroy you, type of feeling. And it's been actually phenomenal that how they've been setting up everything. I know they're definitely setting up Swerve Strickland to be a big star down the line. I don't necessarily know when they're going to start putting him into the world title scene. There is a lot of aspect that he could potentially be there for World's End, which is going to be the pay-per-view at the end of the year, though I don't necessarily know if that's going to be I feel like that might be a little bit too soon, because I feel like they could do a lot more with this Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland thing after this particular one. You feel like you're going to get some form of a third match between the two of them to go along with that. And just based off of everything that they've done so far, you I feel like they kind of have to go in even at this point in time. As much as I was like initially like with what I was thinking is like, okay, second match, you know what? Have Swerve Strickland pick up the victory again. You just can't beat Swerve to go along with that. But the way that they've set this up and potentially gone for a third match down the line with whatever it ends up being, I feel like you have to have them be 1-1 at this point. So I'm going to be picking Hangman Adam Page here. Though I could be completely wrong with this, and they're setting up Swerve down the line to go along with it for like a world title scene, and it would be interesting on that one. I could see Swerve winning this match, but the way that I'm just feeling that they're going with it, that Hangman is going to be the victor here. So I'm going to be picking Hangman to pick up the to get the victory for this one. And up next is going to be for the AEW Heavyweight Championship. It's going to be MJF going up against Jay White. And honestly, I've liked the build that they've set up here going into everything. You know, Jay White kind of just gets one over on MJF at every turn going into this match. He's even taken the AEW Championship. Now, with the aspect of that, you have to go off of this being like, well, you know, yeah, Jay White has the entire Bullet Club Gold. He has the guns. He has Juice Robinson. Who does MJF have right now? Technically, nobody. The Acclaimed has been taken out. Adam Cole is gone. He does have an offer from Samoa Joe, but doesn't want to accept it because he's going to have to give Samoa Joe a world title match down the line. And it's an interesting one to see how they've been setting this up. Now, the whole aspect that Jay White's been keeping the AEW Championship this entire time going into the actual match itself, of course I'm picking MJF to pick up the victory here. It's just leading too much to an MJF victory yet again in this one. And then, of course, continuing up, setting up, you know, whatever match ends out being, whether it's Wardlow or Swerve or whomever it ends out being for the pay-per-view at the end of the year at World's End. It's going to be interesting how they set up everything going forward. And they've had this whole thing with the devil, who took MJF's devil mask, everything to go along with that. And it's just gonna be interesting to see how they set up everything after this match. And do we see anything after the match on the pay-per-view itself? At this point in time, I feel like yes, you do. You do see something here. I feel like whomever is behind the devil mask and behind everything else kind of reveals themselves at the pay-per-view itself to go along with everything. Now, the only clue that we really have on this particular one is that they basically have reported anybody who's been behind the mask, like, you know, part of the beatdowns or behind the devil mask, are the people who are actually going to be revealed and portraying those particular people to go along with it. Now that could lead to a lot of different things. I think the one thing that we would, unless if it's like the best work in the world, I don't see it being CM Punk behind the devil mask. At this point in time, I think the best call is it's Adam Cole at this moment. I know there's been a thing that a lot of people are assuming it's Britt Baker. I feel like at this point, it should be Adam Cole behind the devil mask. I feel like they're going to keep MJF as a babyface for quite some time. So it's best to probably turn Adam Cole heel at some point. And, you know, that can lead to them losing the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships, everything to go along with that as well. So it will eventually get revealed, whether it's at this show or later, that I feel like it's Adam Cole behind that one. That's just my personal feeling on it as well. But in terms, again, of the match, like I may mention the whole setup on this one, I'm going with MJF. Now, that's pretty much all the matches for the night. With those, I know they did also make an announcement that they've said they've come to terms with someone who the AEW fans respect, and they're going to come in and sign the contract at Full Gear itself. Now, that does kind of leave it open to speculation. It could be something really big. It could be something like a Mercedes Moné coming in. I doubt it's somebody from the most recent releases from the WWE with those. It could be somebody like Shibata. I guess there's a possibility of it being Will Ospreay, though he's still technically under contract with New Japan at this point, unless there was some form of a buyout. That like there's possibilities for a lot of different things there. Heck, it could just be the factor that MJF has made his decision to stay in AEW. He's going to sign the contract. It could literally just be that. It's a very open-ended thing, and of course a lot of people are speculating on what it would end up being. I'm not going to actually say who I feel like it's going to be, but there's a lot of possibilities to go along with it. But that is everything I have for AEW Full Gear with predictions. I'm not necessarily certain if I'm going to be doing a live reaction to the pay-per-view over on my Twitch page, because because also the same day as Full Gear, there is a Street Fighter 6 tournament that I may be going to as well. So I may be watching Full Gear at a later time, so the likelihood of a live reaction is probably not going to be there, though I'm aiming to do a live reaction for Survivor Series. If I end up not going to the Street Fighter 6 event, I will do a live reaction to Full Gear itself. But with that being said, if you're still watching this far in, feel free to like, subscribe, share the video if you are liking what you're seeing. But also, with that being said, I hope you all take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great rest of your day.